Living in the backwoods, far outside of town, sure had its perks. It offered a peace and calm that couldn't be described, only experienced to truly understand. There were no neighbors to complain that my truck was too loud, or to remind me that my trash bins couldn't be visible from the street. Out there, I truly felt one with nature. On clear summer nights, I'd sit on my back porch, gazing up at the sky, mesmerized by the ocean of stars blanketing the darkness above. It was the kind of beauty that made you forget about everything else for a while. The buzz from the cicadas hummed through the night as I was left hypnotized by their soothing tone. Of course, for every upside, there were a few downsides. It must be the universe's attempt to balance things out. The nearest grocery store was a 20-minute drive one way, and in the winter, the plow trucks seemed to forget our road even existed. That made my already long commute to work even more exhausting. You see, I worked the late shift at an airport about an hour and a half away as a vehicle maintenance technician, which meant I was always driving home in pitch black darkness, long after everyone else was asleep, exhausted by the physical demanding work my job entailed. That schedule took its toll on my mental health, but the pay and benefits more than made up for it, so I wasn't about to complain. I made that late night drive home 5 nights a week for almost 6 years. By that point, I knew every tree, every curve, and every crack in those roads better than anyone. Still, I'd be lying if I said it never unnerved me. There were no streetlights out there, and most nights I wouldn't see another car the entire way home. It was like something straight out of an apocalyptic horror movie. Combine that with the exhaustion from 12-hour shifts, and my eyes were known to play tricks on me. Every so often I'd get this strange feeling of being watched, like something hidden in the trees was tracking my every move. Parts of the road were covered by tree limbs so densely that not even light from the full moon could penetrate. Even the beams from my truck headlights seemed to get swallowed by the darkness ahead. But the point of the drive I dreaded the most was the turn onto the old farm road. Though calling it a road was generous. There was no asphalt, just dirt packed down harder than concrete after a century of use. It was anything but smooth. If you weren't careful or went too fast, you risked blowing a tire. There was no road sign, only an old barn on the corner. Its once red paint had rotted to a dull brown and black. Other barns and farmhouses stood scattered on either side of the road, separated by a sea of trees. Most likely it had once been a small farming community, though judging by the level of decay, it was clear they'd been abandoned for half a century or more. The end of the road was marked by an old church. Its brick walls had somehow withstood the test of time, but the once elegant stained glass windows hadn't been so lucky. The front doors had been knocked down years ago, yet you still couldn't see inside. It was as if there was a void within, swallowing every ounce of light that dared to enter. Atop the church stood a bell tower, once used to welcome parishioners, now long silent. The bell itself was gone, likely fallen through rotting floorboards in the basement below. Its cross had toppled forward and now hung upside down like a cursed omen. Shortly after, the road ended at a T with a ravine on the other side. Over the years, a handful of people hadn't made the turn, skidding past the signs and through the guardrails, each crash fatal. Several makeshift memorials surrounded that sign. At least, that's how I remember that road. I haven't been down it in years. Not after that summer night. One burns so deep into my memory that I'm convinced it'll replay in my head even after death. There was nothing unusual about that drive home. The sky was clear, the moon hung low and pale, casting long shadows across the fields. I was on my way home, the usual 40-minute haul down empty roads that had become monotonous. I'd just turned down the old farm road when something caught my eye in the side mirror. A flicker of movement that didn't belong. At first I figured it was just a bird, maybe an owl startled by my truck's noise. But then it came again, faster this time, darting in and out of the beam of my taillights. It was keeping pace with me. I looked at my speedometer. It read 47 miles an hour. There was no way a bird could keep up with me at this speed. I kept looking out my mirror. Whatever it was had wings, each one wider than the hood of my truck, yet the way they beat the air was almost soundless. When it dipped low, I caught a glimpse of its reflection in the glass. Black against black, like a shadow peeled from the night itself. My heart started hammering. Instinct took over. I slammed the gas pedal to the floor. Gravel spat out from under the tires as the truck roared down the dirt road. The creature followed. My speedometer hit 60, then 70. Before I knew it, I was doing 80 and it was still keeping up with me. I kept my foot floored, getting over 100 miles an hour. I was moving so fast the truck seemed to just glide over every bump and hole in the road, yet I still couldn't escape. I didn't dare turn my head, but I knew this creature was there right beside me. I could hear it now, the deep rhythmic whoosh of its wings slicing through the cold night air. My headlights seemed to get swallowed up by the darkness ahead. I didn't dare slow down. Up ahead I saw the faint outline of the old church. I knew I had to hit the brakes eventually, otherwise I'd end up in the ravine like so many others. Yet my body refused to lift my right foot off that gas pedal. As the church got closer, I could see the warning sign in the distance. I braced myself for the inevitable. Then it let out a hellish sound. Half shriek, half growl that sent a chill straight through me. It dove beside the truck, wings flaring wide enough to blot out part of the field. I jerked the wheel just in time to avoid it slamming into the side of this thing. And then as suddenly as it had come, it veered away, rising higher, circling once over the road before diving straight toward the church. My high beams caught it for just a moment. Dark feathers, long limbs, eyes like burning coals. And then it disappeared through the open doorway, swallowed whole by the darkness within. As I turned my head back forward, I realized I had run out of road. I slammed my foot on the brake so hard I pushed myself off the seat and jerked the wheel hard to the right. I felt the truck's right side lift in the air as the back end slid around the corner, the tires screaming and begging for traction as it dipped off the edge of the road, trying desperately not to fall into the ravine. The truck slammed down on all four tires once more and by some miracle pulled itself off the edge. Somehow I made it around that corner, but I didn't slow down. I didn't even look back. I just kept driving, hands locked on the wheel, the echo of that awful cry fading behind me until there's nothing left but the hum of my engine and the pounding of my heart. By the time I turned down my own road, my hands were slick with sweat. The engine rattled in my ears, and every bump in the dirt made me flinch. I kept checking the mirrors, half expecting to see that thing again. Those burning eyes. Those wings slicing through the night. There was nothing. Just the black emptiness of the fields and the weak glow of my headlights bouncing off the dust. When my house finally came into view, I almost didn't believe it. I killed the lights and coasted the last few yards up the drive, gravel crunching under the tires like breaking bones. The instant I parked, I jumped out and ran for the door, keys shaking in my hand. Inside, I slammed the deadbolt and then the chain, then the second lock I'd never bothered using before. My heart was still trying to punch its way out of my chest. I went room to room, flipping switches, checking every window latch, every door. The silence inside was deafening, like the house itself was holding its breath with me. When I finally stopped moving, I stood in the living room, just listening. The old floorboards creaking under my boots. The wind outside scraped against the eaves. I tried to calm down. I told myself it was just exhaustion, that maybe I'd imagined it. 12-hour shifts and a 40-minute drive in the dead of night could do strange things to a tired mind. Maybe it was just a big bird, or a trick of the light. That's what I wanted to believe. Then came the sound. A faint thump somewhere outside. Then another, closer this time. Heavy, deliberate, like footsteps on the porch. I froze. The wind had died completely. The night outside was still as death. Slowly I reached over and flipped off the lamp. The room sank into shadow. For a long moment there was nothing. No sound. No movement. And then the scratching started. Slow. Steady. Along the wood of the front door. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I just stared at that door, every instinct screaming not to make a sound. The scratching stopped, replaced by something worse. A low, hollow knock. 3 times. And then silence. I held my breath, terrified that even the sound of my heartbeat would give me away. The seconds felt like hours, the minutes like days. I don't know how long I stood there, paralyzed with fear, before I finally heard a loud whoosh and the flap of enormous wings carrying whatever it was away. I slowly began to breathe again, still afraid it hadn't really gone. Just as my heart began to steady, I heard it. 3 loud gongs from an old church bell. Each one echoed inside my head louder than the last. Then, silence fell once more. To tell you the truth, I don't remember much after that. I'm not sure I even went to sleep that night. I haven't gone down that road since, not even in broad daylight. I no longer sit out on my back porch at night. Every door and every window is locked, covered, and barricaded. If there were ever a fire in this house, I'd likely perish, unable to escape in time. Although, I often wonder if death would be better than living with this fear for the rest of my life. Whatever that thing was, it hasn't returned. But I know it's still out there, in that old church, watching me from afar. And every night, at the exact same time, I hear that bell, reminding me that I only exist because it allows me to.